Now say it with me so no men in black show up at my house and y'all say, hey, where's Trump University? Allegedly. Now, ever since I saw the movie Sicario, which, great movie, if you haven't seen it, go check it out. But in the movie, the CIA is basically manipulating the cartels and they decide which cartel stays on top and which one falls. And I thought, nah, that's just, okay, wait, they could actually do that, but what would they get out of it? Oh, right, money. And then you take into account that the CIA is an independent agency, but if you go on the CIA's website, under the myth section, it says that they operate with oversight from elected representatives and that the president, vice president, and the secretaries of state and defense direct them. Which, sure, when they say it like this, it makes it seem as if the president or the secretary can point the CIA in one direction and they'll go off to achieve that goal however they achieve it. Now, obviously, I'm not saying that the CIA just acts without orders and have their own agenda. It's the people in power with the agendas and the intelligence agencies just act in accordance with that. And I'm not here to discuss whether the CIA was involved in the drug trade in the 60s, 70s, and 80s. We already know about that. What got me was the DEA field agent that said elements of the CIA were involved in bringing drugs into the country. Pretty vague though. But the US government does plenty of things it's not supposed to do. Like for example, extraordinary rendition is essentially when a foreign country kidnaps you from whatever country you were in, and it's kinda illegal under international law, and the following of this law can best be summed up when former Secretary of State Condoleezza Rice responded to the European Union about the US snatching people by saying that the United States has not and will not transport anyone to a country where we believe he will be tortured. Like, why couldn't you just say we won't do it, bro? You know why. It's because we will. And in the horrifying words of former CIA case officer Robert Baer, if you want a serious interrogation, you send the prisoners to Jordan. If you want them tortured, you send them to Syria. And if you want someone to disappear, never to see them again, you send them to Egypt. Jesus Christ, just the prospect of going against the CIA would persuade me to never become an international criminal. Now, back to what I said earlier, the politicians are the ones with the agenda, and the intelligence agencies just go along with it. Right before we invaded Iraq, George Bush stated that the Iraqi government had weapons of mass destruction, and the CIA went along with it, despite the fact that in the year before, they stated that Iraq wouldn't even have the ability to produce any such weapon for at least 5 years, and that's only if it acquired the necessary materials from other countries, which it probably would have never gotten. But there was apparently some agenda to be achieved in the Middle East. But enough of that. Let's discuss our favorite neighbor, Estados Unidos Mexicanos. Now, the news agency Al Jazeera interviewed a spokesman for the Chihuahua state government, which if you don't know is the Mexican state bordering Texas and New Mexico, and also the state widely believed to be where most of these very feisty dogs originated. Anyway, this man told Al Jazeera that instead of fighting cartels, the US tries to manage the drug trade, and he described it as pest control, stating that if you finish off all the pests, you're out of a job. And although he didn't provide much proof for his claim, it kind of makes sense within context. I'm sure the DEA probably wouldn't want to lose this funding, as in 2024 they spent $2.61 billion. And just as a little fun fact, in 1993, it was reported that due to a miscommunication error, the CIA shipped a ton of cocaine to the US. Now, according to the New York Times and the Washington Post, a CIA task force in Venezuela accumulated more than 3,000 pounds that undercover agents got from Colombian drug traffickers, and somehow more than half of it was mistakenly flown to the US where it was sold on the streets. Just an accident, I'm sure. Now here's an interesting statistic I found in a report from the Denver Post in 2022. And it states that the US spends around $48 billion a year to fight the war on drugs. Which is, but that's too vague of a statement, since it includes everything involving drugs that the US government spends money on. So I did some digging into the White House archives, and I wanted to find the budget information from at least the past year. And according to the Biden White House archives, alright, this is from a government website, just in 2025, from the end of Joe Biden's presidency to the beginning of Donald Trump's, a budget of $3.3 billion was provided to the DEA to combat drug trafficking. And it also states that this budget is a $93.6 million increase from what I assume was the previous year. And if you want to talk about mismanaging funds, Jose Irizarry, a former DEA agent that was sentenced to 12 years for money laundering, fraud, and identity theft, took bribes from cartel members in Colombia while creating a lavish lifestyle for himself, and once he went down, he stated that dozens of other federal agents and prosecutors were also involved in his laundering scheme, which he called Team America. And he told reporters before going to prison that the war is unwinnable. and the DEA knows it. He claims his team just took advantage of all the free drugs and money they got in Latin America and used it to have a good time, essentially, by going to soccer matches, parties, and spending money on street women, which the Justice Department kinda confirms, while also saying they don't even know how much of this is actually going on. Now, am I suggesting that every individual DEA, CIA, and FBI agent are complicit in wasting tax dollars to pretend they're fighting a war? No. I'm sure most people who take this career path actually believe there's a way to make a difference by doing their job. And just like any job, there are employees that take advantage of the system. But I do have to circle back to what the journalist in Mexico said when he suggested that if there were no more cartels, the DEA would have no more work to do. And he's right. If the flow of drugs coming into the US were to just suddenly end, where would all those billions of dollars go? Would the government just keep approving budgets while having us believe there's still a fight going on? And obviously the war on drugs would probably never end anyway, in my opinion, since Latin America isn't the only source of the problem. We have a large flow coming in from China and the Middle East as well, and I've even seen North Korea being called a secret narco state. So the war truly can't be won, it seems, and maybe that's what makes this question so hard to answer. Because even if there are no corrupt DEA agents or CIA conspiracies, we might just be too far gone to ever make any real change. And the fact that we now have billions of dollars allocated to this cause every year, and people who depend on this career to make a living, it might just go on forever. It would not surprise me that there is some government agency working to make sure those budgets keep getting approved every year so that they can keep making money, or at the very least keep the departments open. And when you have people in Mexico stating that the US isn't doing anything to actually combat the problem, but in fact just trying to manage it, you could say that some of them are a little biased, which is understandable, but just like anything with the US government, whether there's any truth to it, we'll probably have to wait 20 to 50 years for the CIA to declassify some files on it. So I guess I'll see you guys in about 45 years to see if the CIA actually declassifies the fact that they were managing cartels, or if they were actually fighting them. But thanks for watching, guys. I actually did just get a new PC, so longer videos are coming since I'm no longer producing videos on a potato, and I do have some 30-minute to hour-long videos planned in the future, maybe some a little shorter in the near future, but it's coming, I promise. Thanks for watching.